Greetings, sentient beings. This broadcast is not intended for children. There will be strong language and adult themes. So, welcome everybody to the first early edition. I'm working with a sleep psychologist, so she is bugging me to try and get on a normal sleep schedule, even though this has never happened in my life. But yeah, we've tried this before. Every time I've had a sleep study done. So, fourth attempt at the same thing, but we'll see. Maybe we'll get lucky and this time something will happen.
Hello?
Hello.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was dead silent. I thought I was all alone here out in Neverland or something like that.
Well, I don't know what happened because I could hear you breathing and I was talking, but you weren't responding.
Yay, internet. How is everyone tonight? Who we all got in the chat here? So far I see Godless Zoin. Hi, Will. And Doc Fearson. Hello. Aren't they supposed to be in here?
Yep, that's what I thought.
Come on in, guys. I don't know how long I'm going to last tonight, Perp.
It's okay.
I'm kind of running out of power fast here.
Yep.
My power supply cord is not long enough to reach the socket.
Oh, okay, your phone. I thought you meant you, like you were falling asleep here.
No, that too. We'll see which lasts longer.
Oh, get back.
We get any feedback from Wednesday's tour show?
Nobody left any comments on it, so just the people who were in here. Yeah, sorry, Will, I forgot that you weren't seeing the links in the groups. Oh, and there's Hans.
Hi, Hans.
So, I had my first consult with the voice coach today.
Uh-huh.
So we'll see if we can get me actually sounding like a woman.
A lot of work.
Although it's very cool. I'm really loving the clinic here.
Yeah, you're making me jealous. I wish I had something like that around.
Yeah, well, that's nobody specifically said, but it seems to me that they've gotten the insurance to cover this. Apparently, I think that they would put it through as it being voice therapy as part of a rehabilitation program.
Well, it is.
So yeah, I was really surprised as hell that they could get the insurance to cover this.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's one of the areas that is most often not covered.
Yeah, I really haven't heard of anyone else who wound up being able to get it covered.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, the gender clinic here really, because they're part of a much larger clinic network that they really seem to have figured out how to get all sorts of things encompassed in there.
Well, good for them.
And we have Renee. There's Will.
How's it going?
Okay.
Good. Oh, let's see. Evening, Will. It's still evening for him. Yes. Good evening.
It's early here on the West Coast. Let me turn on my other light. Oh. I'm drinking coffee, so I'm awake enough for everybody. And my computer crashed last night when I was making my video.
Did you overstress it, or it just add an attitude?
I added way too much stuff on it, and I always joke about how I was raised by boomers and I act like one, and I did. I just kept on shoving stuff on the desktop, and desktop files create 3 files, and I didn't know that. So I had some serious explaining to do this morning.
You know what I do to get around that? I think I get around it. I'm not sure, but I think I do. Is when I get my desktop is just all fat with everything all over the place, I'll make one empty folder and I'll name it whatever day I do it and call it Desk Overflow. And put everything in that.
I did that. I see. You know what's so funny? I got that idea off of hearing someone like you saying it off of YouTube like 2 weeks ago.
Didn't know.
And it did. That's exactly what I did. But you know, like the beautiful thing about mistakes is that I learned something today. You know, so I won't repeat it. And because I'm sitting in an X Radio Shack, I have external hard drives. Like I have all kinds of stuff. So I was able to, like, you know, I'm a step ahead. I'm just happy that I paid for Apple Care.
Oh, this is your new machine that did this.
But it's my fault. The M1 machine is still amazing. It's a Ferrari. I just had to get it a tune-up today.
No, you had to learn how to drive it.
Yeah. That's so true. So true. It was definitely a learning experience. Definitely. But I got my video out, you know. And if you want to laugh at Godless Sewing, I had a total moment where it just wasn't happening. I did the update and my computer still was not uploading. Well, before I called Apple the 3rd time with my garage door open, I screamed, I just want to do gay shit. How come I just can't do gay things? Why? And on my camera, you can see my neighbor walk by my house and just be like, huh? And he just kind of kept on walking. But they know me. They know that I'm so random and all over the place. Like, they expect me to be screaming stuff like that. But I totally had a breakdown because it took 4 hours to get all that done this morning.
You didn't lose it, did you?
No, I posted it. I posted my video at like 10 or 11 or noon or something today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I saw it in the feed.
And it took for you know, it's one of those things. I'm stubborn, so if I keep on getting like, if you keep on telling me no, I'm just gonna find another way to do it, you know. And eventually it went through.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I definitely have that attitude as well. Oh, where is my fucking wallet? Oh yeah, I left it in the car. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm real disconnected here. I've been out cold most of the day.
Yep.
Oh, me.
Okay, so what exciting new contagious diseases are you bringing back to us?
I don't know. You know, when we were on the show, Wednesday. That was Wednesday, right? Yeah.
Also known as yesterday.
I do that too. Don't do that to me. I do.
Was that yesterday?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was like 29 hours ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay.
Yesterday and some change.
Right at the end of the show, when I was, you know, doing the mobile cam thing, and we started getting broken up and all that kind of junk. It's because there's a horrible cell signal in this area, which is really funny, and I enjoy that fact very much because this is one of the richest areas in the entire fucking state. And the fact that they can't get good cell coverage, it's like,
That's strange. You would have thought one of the companies would have put a tower there.
That's kind of not funny because I had to fight for a tower in my neighborhood, and I said the same thing. I was like, we pay our taxes over here. How come we don't have a tower on this side of town?
Well, the funny thing is they do have, well, it's not a traditional tower. They kind of peppered this church steeple with fake stuff to make it look like not a tower.
Oh, that's awesome.
But well, whatever. The signal was fading out. I didn't know if I had you or not, but I mentioned that I was not feeling very well, and I think that was before we started the mobile part. That's why I started the mobile part. Yeah, now I remember. Because I wanted to head up here because I was feeling sick. And by the time I got here, I was just feeling really ucky. My guts were just doing topsy-turvy. And I've been sitting on the toilet for the last 29 hours.
Sorry.
And
Drink water.
Well, yeah, there was a lot coming out. Let me tell you that.
In my this is gonna get gross fast. In my Hollywood days, I would do cleanses, and one one time, I ate an entire box of Docalax chocolate chews, trying to bypass a cleanse. So I was trying to be lazy and not go through the proper process of cleaning yourself out. And I sat on the toilet for, the stereotypical time, but I felt empty for 2 months. Like every time I ate, I did not feel full.
Huh.
It was the strangest feeling.
That's just bizarre.
Oh yeah. That's why you got to be careful. Drink water.
I'm so clean right now. Any gay man in the world would be happy to fuck me.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And it's just like I was telling Perp just before. It's so exhausting. I'm so tired.
Hi, Jen.
I don't get sick like this very often. I can't remember the last time I had something like this. And so it's just I just don't get along well with it. Hi, Jen.
Well, yeah, it is critical that you drink a lot of water because obviously you're losing a lot of fluids.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And what really makes you feel so run down is becoming dehydrated.
Yeah. Well, what I've been scared most about is the fact that I only packed 2 days worth of my usual medications, and so I didn't get any yesterday. I didn't get any today, and I'm not going to get any tomorrow till I get home. I'm hoping I can leave tomorrow.
Yeah, I know you had mentioned on Twitter that you didn't have that with you.
And so I called my doc and asked him what are my likelihood of dying. They gave me
I thought you were going to call your doctor and see if he could, phone in like a 5-day prescription to you, somewhere local there.
No, Medicare wouldn't cover it and stuff, so I don't have the cash to do that.
You totally reminded me. My doctor gave me some underhanded $20 fee, and I threw the letter somewhere because I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I live in the land of taxes. They will tax you any way they can here. I consider it robbery after all my insurance and everything I pay for them to ask for another $20 is kind of weird.
Oh, I was going to say, did they charge you tax on the $20 or something?
I didn't even read it. I saw that it was a bill, and I was like, "What?" And then I saw it was $20, and I was like, "I'm gonna fight this."
Actually, it's one of the things that's actually outstanding about the Minnesota Medicaid is that we have, generally don't have co-payments for doctor visits and that. In most other states, even people who are on Medicaid can't afford to go see the doctor because sometimes, like in New York, there was a $50 co-payment per doctor visit.
Mm-hmm.
It's like... Yeah, if people are on Medicaid, they probably don't have the $50 to go see the doctor.
Our clinics, I think it's highway robbery. Our clinics started $100 or $150 just to fill out the paperwork and walk inside.
Yeah, well, the $50 was just the part that Medicaid wasn't covering.
Oh, okay. Here, like anywhere else, our healthcare system is completely ruined. But we have Medi-Cal, so everybody gets to suffer together equally. They'll help you, but so people are. That's the beautiful thing about California is that you can get insured here, no matter what.
Well, that's good.
But during a certain president's reign, Baltimore, the name I shall not speak, my insurance tried to drop me, and they did for a minute, and I fought it, but and I ended up switching because they dropped me. And one of the reasons they dropped me was because I have, I have a born with a lung issue, and then when COVID hit, they were like, "This guy's gonna pass, and we're gonna have to pay for it." And they dropped me, and I wasn't the only person with my specific condition that was dropped.
Wow, that sounds like crooked.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's, the insurance's favorite trick is try to determine that was a pre-existing condition so they don't have to cover it.
And, let's be real. They have more money than everybody else, so they'll fight you. They don't care. Insurance companies are, to me, it's really heartless when I'm at Walmart and I hear the pharmacist tell someone like, "Oh, you can only afford, your insurance only covers half of what your prescription was."
Well, you know what the real bitch about that whole system of denial is that the first line people who are making these denials are people who are trained by the insurance company on how they want them to do their job, but have no medical knowledge or background. And so they'll get a code for whatever procedure is being dealt with, and they'll just say no without any knowledge of how serious this is or what this connects to, or
that's
or
why
anything.
we need universal health care, and we need to get insurance companies out of it. People should be able to get whatever their doctor prescribed for them.
Absolutely.
That should be the end of it.
I'm an extremely heartless person, and if it was up to me, I would give everybody medicine for free. But I'm born with an illness, so I know how it is to be sick all the time. The Walmart by my house is a sad story because every time I go, I almost hear the pharmacist telling someone like, "Oh, you can only afford this," and it's just, I don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
And these insurance companies have billions, and they're putting up stadiums where I live.
You mean the football's more fun than your sick ass stadium?
In the middle of Inglewood, we have this cathedral they just built. The stadium is so large. There's an apartment complex and a fake park in it. You can live in the stadium, basically.
Jeez.
Yeah, well, it's common. Insurance companies bought the naming rights to a lot of sports arenas, mostly because they need the good PR. But they figure it's cheaper to build a sports team a new stadium than it is to actually give all the people on their plan the drugs they need.
How many MetLife stadiums are... Oh, I'm actually watching Islanders highlights right now. What's the name? Oh, is it the Barclays Center? There's another stadium somewhere in New York that's blatantly named after an insurance company.
I would hazard to guess that the majority of sports arenas in this country are named by either an insurance company or an energy company.
Banks as well. Chase owns everything. As far as Arizona goes, it used to be Chase Field, but they changed the name. Chase Bank has a lot of money.
That would be an interesting list to create, is who owns what stadiums, or names what stadiums. How was Beertown? In a minute.
Dodger Stadium is owned by a conglomerate of people, but it's like Magic Johnson, and but it's not just one person who owns the Dodgers, But I know who owns the Dodgers because they constantly exactly. Sloth Girls knows what's up.
Wells Fargo owns the Viking Stadium.
I thought that
Xcel
was
Energy
US
owns Xcel Energy owns the stadium downtown St. Paul where the hockey team plays. What were you saying, Jenny?
I thought the Viking Stadium was U.S. Bank.
I don't know. I pay so little attention to football. I only vaguely am aware that they got a new stadium in Blaine a couple of years ago.
I watch a lot of hockey. Well, I watch baseball as well, but it's offensive how much the corporations own everything. And in the late '80s, they took all the nicotine ads out of stadiums and everything, and they put up oil ads. I'll argue that oil is more dangerous than nicotine because we start wars over oil. We invade other countries over oil.
Okay, Sloth
Oh,
Girl
we
said
would
you're right.
never do that.
I'd rather see a cigarette ad than knowing ExxonMobil. Like on the West Coast, they own every other thing on the West Coast.
Well, arguably the Civil War was over tobacco.
Oh, gosh, don't even get me started on that. Every time someone says Northern aggression, my blood pressure just goes through the roof. Oh, it makes me so angry whenever I hear that.
Yeah.
Erasure. It's, right in front of our eyes right now, we're watching people trying to erase history. That's why when people say, like, oh, so-and-so erasure is not real, like, oh, really? Let me lead you over here and show you.
You mean like the government did with in South Dakota and wiped out that the Six Spirits Mountain and instead carved four presidents.
Yep.
Two of who were slave owners, and we'll go on and on. As part of this effort to wipe out the culture of the Indians from South Dakota area.
Yep. Well, you know why Roosevelt's on there?
No.
He was a personal friend of the artist. That's all.
Oh, well, all right.
Talking about Teddy, right?
Yeah.
Teddy was actually an interesting person. He may have been a complete racist and ruthlessly murdered Cubans, but he's an interesting human being.
At least he went after the corporations.
Exactly.
And beat up them a little bit. It didn't last 100 years, but
am I wrong? Because my father used to always say that he was president his entire adult life. Was he president 3 times?
Yeah. He was actually the one. Why they passed the term limit.
No. That was Franklin Roosevelt, not Teddy.
Oh, okay. Sorry, wrong Roosevelt. But yeah.
Franklin Roosevelt was president 4 times. He died. He died fairly early in the 4th term.
That's crazy. As a modern day American, as a middle-aged modern day American, that's crazy to me.
Yeah. Gutzon Borglund. That was the artist that put Teddy Roosevelt on the monument.
Sometimes I try to have objectivity, but then you look into who these people were and you're like, wow, you were the worst. Like, I was watching this documentary on Captain Cook, and I'm like, yeah, but you invaded Australia. One of those funny things.
Yep. Well, the only one I really haven't found that with was Ben Franklin. Ben Franklin, by his own accounts, was far more of a scoundrel than the history books would ever tell you.
Well,
okay.
He wasn't president either.
So in I can't remember the name, but Ben Franklin used to use the pen name as a kid, Goody Dewwife or something. It was like Goody Dewwife, and he would write into this newspaper every week claiming to be this woman. Benjamin Franklin single-handedly gave syphilis, had sex with every French woman he could, and saved America by using science and impressing the French. He journaled his entire life. And how many inventions did Ben Franklin have?
Ben Franklin also used his own personal fortune to hire a fleet of pirates with the expressed writ that they would only go after British ships and they would leave the French alone.
Oh, well.
He hired pirates to harass the French Navy during the Revolutionary War.
And one of the greatest Americans who ever lived. There's a great Ken Burns documentary about him. It's an amazing documentary.
I didn't know Burns made one about Franklin.
That's how I know all of that. when I lived in Portland, they had some of the best public television on earth, but this was during the rabbit ear era. I know some kids may not know what I'm talking about, but with rabbit ears, I got every PBS station in Oregon.
Oh.
And Ken Burns just happened to come out with this documentary around that time. Yeah, Ben Franklin is one of the greatest Americans who ever lived.
Okay, I was not aware of anything about him stealing inventions. I'm not going to say it didn't happen. But yeah, if you know of some, I'd like to hear about some examples.
So, Mage, as a sheltered American, we still think that flight was invented in 1903 in Kitty Hawk. So take pity on us.
Well, actually, flight wasn't invented. The birds had it down pretty well.
Hey, Doc. There you go. Mute this.
The Wright brothers, more than many inventions that we know about and love and all this stuff, built themselves on the shoulders of others. Very much so. I mean, that there were so many people who tried flight before that they got a lot of pieces of information from them, and none of those others were successful or even really close. And it took them in their building a wind tunnel and doing all their research on wing shapes and lift and made legitimate calculations and things, and
most of the
created
people
the science that we now have.
Yeah,
they created aerodynamic science.
Most of the people, that are listed in the textbooks as having invented things were usually refining ideas that had already been around for a while. But they found something. They had to add something to it.
Well, the most important of their discoveries was the shape of the wing, being specific design of the high and the low and all that kind of stuff. And I'm losing my technical term ability here. But their other technique, which really made all the difference, was the warping wing technology. Where
the
by
asymmetrical
moving their
wing
sting,
profile,
that it would twist the wing and cause the basic same effect as ailerons do today.
Yep.
Oh, I was watching a documentary just yesterday with good old Penelope Keith. She goes around from different village to village in England, and there was some rich baron who had so much money. He had like an insane amount of land, and he invented. And apparently, he was the first person to invent a plane in the UK, so they say that he was the first person to invent flight. But there's also an inventor in France who literally, I think it was during World War I, saw the planes flying overhead. I can't remember his name. He invented the first biplane, I guess. And he said if he knew what the planes were going to be used for, he would have never invented the plane.
No, the Wright brothers built a biplane.
I gotta look up his name though. No, he invented the ones that had the guns mounted on them. With the Red Baron.
Okay.
Yeah, he perfected that design, and basically, he invented the plane, and then a couple years later, they were using it to fight over his house because he was in France, and he's like, I invented that.
Well, the Germans came up with the technology for synchronizing a machine gun fire to the propeller so that they wouldn't shoot their propeller off when they fired a gun.
That's still amazing. I'm sorry. That is still just an amazing Amazing technology. Someone had to really think about that.
It's actually it would be difficult to implement just because of all the twists and turns of physical movement that you have to make. But it's really just a cam off of the motor that has a couple lumps on it, depending on how many wings there are to the given prop. And if there's two prop wings, then it just has two bumps on the cam, and the cam comes around and allows the gun to fire or disallows the gun to fire. It's really quite simple. It's just all the rods and stuff that you'd have to move around, all that shit would be confusing.
The first machine gun was invented during the Civil War by Richard Gatling, who was actually a doctor, because he believed it would make war so heinous that no one would ever go to war again.
Little did he know is that everybody was like, "Ooh, I want one too."
Yeah.
How are you doing, Doc?
Crawling to consciousness.
I know.
Don't do it.
Yeah, exactly. Run. I kind of.
I may be just conscious enough to tell this stupid joke. I'm actually the inventor of everything. I invented flight out of leftover wheel prototypes.
What?
Yeah, stupid.
Flight out of. I'm sorry, my brain is aching too much to take this.
Yeah, I'm still half asleep, and I probably have a dissociative disorder.
I wonder if I do too, because when I wake up, I'm almost like half drunk, but I just attribute that to my lungs, to the fact that it takes a minute for my lungs to fill up, because it's literally lack of oxygen,
Yeah, possibly.
Okay, what is a pirate's favorite letter?
Arr.
I thought it was C.
You'd think it would be R, but his first love is the C.
There you go.
Sam Chaos, Maddie, and I on our podcast, you could literally see from the first episode, I'm like, we should be pirates, and then every episode after that, we talk about how free you are as a pirate. It sounds romantic, but it's nothing.
Well, you're free until they catch you.
Yeah, exactly. I think we romanticize everything, and then like when I think of pirates, I think of the people off of Somalia, and like Nigerian pirates, and like Philippines and Vietnamese pirates, because those are the modern day pirates.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, anytime I heard about pirates, I always thought they were in like the South Pacific, all the islands and stuff of that. I never realized that they were being in the Caribbean.
Oh yeah. Well, if you think about it, it's a beautiful place to be. This seems like a fun place to go from island to island, From the Keys to Cuba to the Virgin Islands. Like, how many islands are over there?
I don't know, but what had also scared me as a kid was the concept of a desert island, getting stranded on a desert island. So, like, how many are there? 2?
And
So-
by now, how are those islands still virgins?
Well, we have the U.S. Virgin Islands, and then there's the British Virgin Islands. And Americans, we do not need passports to go to the American Virgin Islands. So book a flight. Save money and book a flight. It's beautiful.
Really?
Yeah. You don't need it's American territory.
Well, yeah. It's like going to Puerto Rico.
Exactly. Don't need all you need is your ID. Well, I'm sure now there's a million checks, but check it first. I hate to be a downer. I hate to do it, but you guys were bringing up islands. Have you heard about? Well, I know you sure have heard about all the Haitians trying to come here.
Yeah.
There's
I
a
just
little,
started to hear a little about that.
a little bit of history is that the Dominican, like Haiti, is this big. It's literally a sliver on the end of Hispaniola that is the Dominican Republic. And the Haitians are being pushed out of their own country. They're being denied citizenship in their own country because they're French. And basically, on those islands are ruled by people who are Hispanic. And so they're being discriminated against because they're French. And as Americans, we see black people, but they're French and they're being discriminated against because they're not, the Dominicans have been trying to get them out of there forever.
Yeah.
That's why they put them on boats and literally would rather go through Mexico, which is one of the most dangerous crossings on earth as far as wherever their people are. Like Guatemala is one of the most dangerous borders on earth,
Well,
So
Haiti had been a French colony until they revolted.
Exactly. And because they revolted, they have been suffering since. The French were just kind of like, fine, you want to be free? And they literally left them there, knowing that eventually that this would happen.
Well, the French just decided it was too far away for their navy to be bothering with all the time.
True. It's just crazy time. See, this is why I don't watch the news. Because, I start looking at the history behind it, and it's depressing. Everybody hates each other because we're all just a little bit different, It's and these people literally look alike. Like, if you put me on that island, you wouldn't know if I was Dominican or Haitian,
Until you open your mouth.
Yeah. That's like when I was in downtown and I walked up to this guy, I was asking for directions and I felt more comfortable asking a person of color. So I walked up to him and I was like, "Hey, do you know where so-and-so is?" He was Portuguese. And he's like, "Look, I'm from Portugal, man. I have no idea where I am." Hey, chill out, dude.
Okay, I have to say, I'm sure this figure is at least somewhat misleading, because deportation is not a quick process. It generally takes at least 6 months. So most of the people that have been deported while Biden's been in office, the process started while Trump was still in office.
Okay, I'm so glad you brought that up. I forgot what it's called, but it's an order that Trump signed that Biden is just basically using to kick people out. And let's not forget that Obama kicked out more illegal immigrants than 7 presidents before him combined. But we liked Obama, so no one noticed.
No one talked about it during Obama's term.
I'm from California. It is not foreign to see INS in downtown. So the Democrats are famous for, and that's why I laugh when a Republican's like, "Oh, they want to protect the sovereignty of our borders." Nah, no, you don't, because the Democrats end up deporting more people in the end. It's sad times, Bring us your tired, hungry, and poor is over.
Well, the Republicans just make a big show of it because they know being bigoted is good with their base.
True.
Well, but there's so many people in this world who are under miserable conditions, whether it's climate, nowadays climate's being an issue, whether it's the politics of authoritarianism or dictatorial greed and dominance, and there's just so many awful reasons that people want to get the hell out of their place. No country on earth could possibly absorb all of them. No country on earth can.
Unfortunately, the same thing that's happening to France and the UK is happening to us. It's happening anywhere where we have, up until the secret got let out that Obama deported everybody, we were taking in everybody. But what we don't tell people is we take people from our wars. Like where I live in Southern California, we have a large population of Cambodian and Hmong Chinese people that live here. Large population, you know. So there's always stipulations to when America will bring people here. It's sad. It's really sad.
And a lot of that gets delayed horribly too. Excuse me. That in the 90s, St. Paul got a huge influx of Hmong. But that was actually because of an agreement that we promised them when we were over there fighting the Vietnam War. So, you know, it took them over 20 years to finally make good on that promise.
That's just awful. That's what I'm saying. Like, we have, I don't know. I grew up extremely naive with a really nationalistic view. I do. I grew up with a really nationalistic view of America, and then when I went around the world, I realized that our country, like, we create our own problems, like most people, you know.
Well, the bottom line that nobody wants to admit is that our standard of living is only maintained by basically having a slave labor force. Just when we didn't want to look at it here, we moved it off to other countries.
Just like India and Africa, I talk about it all the time. Our textiles are made in India.
All of the clothing that's made in China for people who are, you know, working for less than $5 a day.
And they're destroying their atmosphere because of it. Acid rain is not rare in China, you know?
Yep. Well, and we also send so much of our recycling, especially the e-waste, over there. Just because, they don't have the environmental controls, so they don't care what they're dumping into the environment as they're stripping the precious metals off the circuit boards.
And that's about the only thing that actually gets recycled nowadays.
Pretty much.
Well, that and aluminum.
With Bitcoin, there's all these weird people that will pay you to mine your old technology. And I know that because I live in a museum. So people all the time are like, hey, you know, you could make money off of that. To me, it's just an old hunk of junk piece of equipment, but they're mining it for Bitcoin and all these weird offshoots of all these weird things.
I saved my first computer. I didn't want to give it up.
I'm sitting in a room with 2 Apple IIes, an IBM printer. Like I'm literally in a museum in this room.
I actually have some
I heard
very
Apple IIes get
obsolete
pretty
old
good money.
computers. I'm sorry, Jenny, go.
I heard that Apple IIes get pretty good money.
When I saw the price tag was over $1,000, I dug them out of the rafters at my mom's house.
Apple II forever.
And this is why I love my mom. She knows I'm heartless. I said, hey, can I have this? And she's like, all right, but I want half. She knew what I was going to do with it. She knew. She knew.
I actually have a couple of obsolete computers that, I don't even know how to get them recycled.
That's my thing. I want to find a fanatic so that my computer doesn't end up in a landfill in Africa somewhere.
Yep. But I mean, I've got a couple of machines that are, more than 10, 12 years old, so I don't think there's anything in them that's of any real use to anybody.
I would think that you could do a Google search on electronics recycling by region or something like that, and find someone who would take your stuff. Because there is money in electronics recycling, and these people are happy to take shit. There's just no network for getting it there, is what the problem is.
I don't get about my own country is that we get a bit larger than the UK.
And don't throw out your lithium batteries. There's a lot of ads on our local radio station from our landfill that people are just throwing their lithium batteries in the garbage, and it's starting fires in the landfill. So we've got various drop-offs for people to deposit their lithium batteries for free, but
Do they
people are lazy. Throw them in the trash.
Sorry, Doc. Do they fine people for that?
What's that? They can fine people?
No, like if you got caught, would you have to pay a fine?
I don't know. The advertisement doesn't say there is. They're just saying, please, people, stop throwing your damn batteries in. It's starting fires out here.
Because we have laws like that, to the point where, like, I don't know. I still don't know how they track it, but I tested it one time. I put a dried out paint can in my recycler, and they fined me. I still don't know how they track it, but I threw something away that was on the hazardous list, so I paid my fine.
Yeah, they probably don't track it because it's just getting thrown into regular trash, not like
see that means that means you could.
Sorry.
Go ahead, continue.
Okay. But yeah, the people are just throwing it in the regular trash, and I don't know if they have any way to really track that. I don't know if they pay attention to that sort of thing.
We have all kinds. Like, I'm sorry.
I was just saying they're doing the radio ads and like I heard one radio ad about it, and then later on I'm hearing people are still throwing their batteries in the trash. People, let's get these. Let's drop them off. They got drop off points all over the place. Freaking Walgreens, freaking libraries, freaking. So it's like there's no excuse for it. People can drop off their damn batteries.
At a camera shop that I worked at 15 years ago, we collected batteries, and there was a guy who came by every few months to pick up whatever we had accumulated.
Oh, the good old days of capitalism.
Yeah, he paid us. He paid us for them. Like, it was only like $10 for 20, 30 pounds worth of dead batteries. But
when I was a kid, $1 was a lot of money, and that was like 40 years ago.
Yeah, the lithium batteries are the only ones that they seem to be willing to recycle anymore, though. I can't figure out again what to do with all the alkaline batteries.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck alkaline. The nickel metal hydrides are the ones that are nasty to want out in the stream.
You guys are making me want to check all those batteries I have in the middle bedroom.
Well, the NiCad and the nickel metal hydride, well, I don't have any of those, haven't for years now, but, those could always go in with the power tool batteries recycling, so.
Oh, Best Buy recycles electronics. But where does Best Buy send their electronics? I watched one National Geographic documentary, and all of a sudden I thought I was an expert. And then I read a Scientific American article about it, and I've watched documentaries about it. We are literally, there are countries that are willing to kill themselves for money. And we are all too willing to ship our electronics and all of our radioactive crud there.
Well, it's not that they're willing to kill themselves for money. It's that they can't afford to live.
Yeah.
So it's like doing something, even if they know it's hazardous, doing something that's going to get them enough money to buy food for the rest of the week, they've got to do it.
I was just really surprised to find out that a place like Ghana does it, or like, I don't know. I knew, I had a roommate who was from Ghana. Like, it's just strange to me that like he was considered an old man in his 20s because people don't live that long in his country.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really sad.
Yeah. So when I start finding out, like, and for all of that, that is why people are trying to come here. And for as much as I can whine and gripe, it's not rare for me to tell a cop to shove it. It's not rare for me to say F you to a cop's face, If you did that in another country, they would cap you on sight, So America is not for as much gripe and strife as we have here, it's still not as bad as the people that are willing to come here and put up with us and our problems. You know?
Futurama did an episode that dealt with the recycling, that they were dumping off a load of electronics recycling on this planet to have it taken care of. Yeah, as soon as they dumped it off, the guy standing there just, like threw a match into the pile and just, burned everything to ashes. And then there's this bunch of kids that is standing there, and he says, "Okay, kids, time to play Find the Shiny." Dive into the pile, and Leela's all aghast, and she says, "Is all the work done by children?" He said, "Oh no, not the whipping."
Oh, Sloth Girl, I'm gonna make that a t-shirt. Oh, I'm gonna make that a t-shirt. Does that mean he was a Gahaner? Oh, that was gold. I'm thinking about, I'm trying to justify buying a new embroidery machine, but I don't, like, just because you can do things doesn't mean you should sometimes. I took a phone with a bloated battery to Best Buy for recycling.
Yeah, overheated batteries is usually what's attributed to the people who catch their pants on fire.
So
I mean, you may think it's a joke, but no, literally.
I'm about to tell a story about how I set my left butt cheek on fire on my 36th birthday. I don't know, 35th. A good friend of mine, she took me to Santa Barbara for my birthday. If you're listening, Boffy, I miss you. You're amazing. She took me to Santa Barbara for my birthday. I would smoke. I had, one of my pipes. I smoked Captain Black forever. I was addicted to Captain Black pipe tobacco. And I put what I thought was a pipe that was not lit. I put it in my back pocket. And I'm walking around and I look at my friend and I tell her, something's biting me. I literally feel like something's biting me. And she looked and my back pocket was on fire. And she's sitting there, she's like, "Oh my gosh," and she's hitting my ass, and I'm like, "I'm on fire!" And like, oh, it was a scene in the middle of Santa Barbara. Oh, it was awesome. And then we went and had fish and chips, and it was we had a lovely evening. We went to a bar, got wasted, had a lovely evening. But I had a great story because everywhere I went, I got to tell people I set my ass on fire. And I had proof because I just turned around and I had this giant hole in my pants.
I can imagine the story is being told by some of the passers-by that if they didn't see the flames and they just saw this guy screaming, "I'm on fire," with this woman slapping his ass.
But the laugher was, I look and there was literally smoke coming behind me. Oh. Because I always have junk in my pockets. Like, I always have a giant wad of keys. And I would always put my pipe on there. And I broke, like, really, no más pantalones. Yes. Or la mitad pantalones. Half. But I was always breaking pipes because I would forget they were in my pocket and I would sit down. And, like, my pops told me, like, you need to start buying cheap pipes. Yeah, you got to be like.
I've heard of hot pants, but that's next level, man.
Yeah.
Nothing personal, Will, but I would have paid to see that.
Oh, it was awesome. Those were in the good old days when I used to day drink. I haven't had a drink in 7 years, but I used to be a party. It was my birthday, so we were drinking all day. I had a great time. But yeah, my ass was on fire. It was awesome. And the funny thing is, when you do crazy, awkward stuff, people turn around and stare at you. That's why I'm surprised that I am not on a bunch of viral videos, because I get full Karen nuts in public. And people have pulled out cameras on me before. So if you see a viral video of a guy that kind of looks like me, it probably is me. Especially if it's on the LA freeway.
I've got a bit of a on fire story. When I was a kid, I lit my fingertips on fire once.
Wow.
Yeah, I was out playing with some friends. I had to be freaking, I don't know, 9, 10 years old, and me and some friends were out playing, and some high school or college age kids drive by, and they're like, hey guys, here you go, have fun, and they threw a fucking book of matches on the sidewalk and drove off. And my dumbass walks up. I'm like, I know just what to do with these. And I think I lit the whole book, and then fucking I pull my hand away, and my fingertips, like little candles, are on fire.
Oh my gosh.
And I was just like, rah! I just started screaming because I was freaking out. And my friends that I was playing with, we were out in their front yard, and their dad was a preacher at a church right across the street from the house. And we go running in, and their preacher dad like grabs me and puts my fingers under running water and shit, right? And I'm just screaming and freaking out and cussing up a storm. And this dude's a preacher, and it was fun.
Why did your fingers start on fire?
I don't know why. I never figured that out. I mean, I used to light matches off the book by holding my finger down on like the match head, and then moving it quickly before it burned. Maybe some of the sulfur powder or whatever flecked on my fingertips or something.
Maybe whoever threw the book at you had spiked it with some kind of chemical,
kerosene or something. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, and that's what you got on your fingers. And
I don't know.
Idea of
either way, it was like a bunch of like high school kids throwing a bunch of little kids a book of matches and saying, "Hey kids, have fun."
Yeah, exactly, and that's what the fun was
up
for them, because they're going, ha ha ha, these kids are going to fuck themselves up.
So let me ask you a question. Would you buy a minor alcohol? Like if some rando minor walked up to you and was like, "Hey, would you buy me a drink?"
No.
Yeah,
so when I was younger, I was the only one out of my friends who could speak legible Spanish. We would on Fridays we would go to like the San Fernando Valley, and I would walk up to grown ass men and women and ask them. I'd hand them like $20-$30 and be like, "Hey, can you buy me so and so beer?" And they would do it all the time. No one ever ripped me off. One time this guy was like gave me and my friends a bottle of Absolute and was like, "Go get wasted, kids." Do you know? As an adult, I would never do that. I'm a prude compared to people. Like, I would never do that as an adult. I look at my son. My son is 12 years old. I started smoking cigarettes at that age. I look at my kid like, if I saw a cigarette in his hand, I would slap it out of his hand.
I was about that when I had my first cigs.
That's the age of exploration.
It didn't turn into a habit, but I remember stealing a couple of my dad Camel Straights and going and firing them up and getting sick as a dog.
I was probably about that age when I started taking empty baby food bottles and siphoning off my dad's whiskey from the garage. My dad was an alcoholic. There was no point in the garage that was more than 6 feet from a whiskey bottle.
Same with my dad and beer, and still to this day, I think I like the taste of beer because I started drinking it around that age. Like I would sneak a beer or two,
I have to break away. I'm not sure if I'll be back.
Okay. Well, you take care of yourself. Go get some rest.
Nature calls. I gotta go. I can't talk.
Okay. Bye-bye.
But if you think about it,
when I was growing up, my dad actually said that I don't care if you drink, just don't leave the house.
My parents were the same. My parents let my sister have raging parties, and everybody would spend the night. But you know that I guess it was a different time because people were people suing each other and stuff. People really don't do that now because if kids get sick or something, you're liable.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that was the thing. People weren't suing, and there were laws against buying minors alcohol, but yeah, people tended to just kind of shrug it off. Nobody really took them that seriously.
Because, like
Yeah,
I said,
happened all the time where I came from. That's that's why in high school there was a group of people called the Lodies.
that's my next patch.
Because they went out and got loaded. I was with that group for a short time until I was ousted.
I grew up around a lot of really preppy people, and they stopped hanging out with me because I started experimenting. I became like the black sheep, which I was better off for because I literally grew up around preppies who were so wet behind the ear, it wasn't even funny.
Well, when I was first starting high school, we had a little group of 6 of us that were just kind of the misfits that nobody could categorize us with anyone else. And we would go and we would pretty much get plastered every Saturday. My girlfriend's mother owned the building they lived in, and so there was the community room in the basement that we could use. And yeah, it pretty much came plastered every Saturday. And after doing that for a year or so, I asked myself one day why I was doing it. And I couldn't come up with a good answer. So I stopped, and I really didn't drink again for about 15 years.
I had done so much drugs. I had drank so much that when I turned 21, I quit drinking, and I didn't pick up another drink until my 30th birthday. I think at a certain point, like you reach a point where you're like, this is gonna kill me. That's why I quit drinking last time. Well, 7 years ago.
I never was a big drinker myself. I kind of had my summer of fun with the Lodies, and then until I was punched out, but I've always had like digestive problems. I've always had fucked up shit with my stomach, and it just alcohol just never was a big thing for me. Never the funnest time. So just never got into it.
Oh, totally. When I quit smoking pot for a long time. Shocker. I know. I didn't start smoking again until it became legal. Because as an adult, I didn't see a point as like having a kid and like going to jail over pot. Am I cutting out?
No, you're
fine.
Yeah, you're fine.
Oh, okay. And my camera cut out for a minute. And so I quit smoking for a very long time. And I can't remember what I was going to say. I totally just bonked right now.
Because you're a pothead.
Yeah, exactly. Do. We're sorry. Godless Sewing is busy right now. The lights are on, but he's not home.
The biggest symptom of marijuana is brain gas.
Like I said, it doesn't seem to have much of an effect on me. I've really only gotten high twice in my life. And it's not because people haven't tried.
Okay, so I'm going to... You say that, and I'm going to... First, I'm going to drive to Doc's house. I'm going to go pick up Doc, and then I'm going to go to your house, and I'm going to give you a piece of pumpkin pie and give you a space helmet.
I heard.
Well, if you're coming to pick me up, Doc's on the way.
Exactly. That's why I said I'm going to get Doc first, because I've heard Doc say that so many times. But my whole point is, there's all kinds of new stuff. Like because pot's legal here, there is like I'll tell you all the time, Purple and Doc, all the time. I go to the old man cabinet because that new age stuff literally just has me asleep and useless on the couch. Like I get so high, I don't even see the point to it. So I walk in the shop and I'm like, "Where's the old guy pot?" And they know what I'm talking about, you know.
Okay. Asleep would be far from useless for me.
That's what I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying because I'm an extremely hyper person and it's not easy for me to sleep. So I smoke a very specific type of weed and it like within 15 minutes, all of a sudden I'm really paying attention to whatever I'm watching and I'm out. You know.
Well, that's actually pretty much what got me sent to the sleep psychologist and why I had to move the time up here because, my doctor tried a couple of new prescriptions for me to sleep, like the Belsomra, and still no help with anything. So I was asking if I could get a prescription for the pot to help me sleep, and he really didn't want to do that. So
Mage is saying a glass of rum. Have you ever tried really stiff alcohol? I know you probably tried everything.
oh yeah, when I was in Michigan especially, it's like drinking till I passed out was sometimes the closest I could get to sleep for weeks.
I did that when I was really depressed when I broke up with my ex-wife. I did this whole November rain thing for like 6 months where I would drink and pass out on the front lawn. Like it was ugly.
But it's really shitty sleep though. It doesn't help a lot.
And then you wake up sick. For me, I would always wake up just ill.
Yeah,
That's
I wouldn't
one
wake
thing.
up sick. At worst, I'd have a headache from it, but that was all.
I have pretty bad hangovers often.
It's literally the reason. One of the reasons.
Seems like the last time I drank, though, I didn't have a bad hangover. It was weird.
The last couple of times I've had a bad
bad.
hangover, I hadn't been drinking.
But I did hear a explanation for that recently, why some people just don't seem to get high on marijuana. And it's basically because you metabolize the THC quicker than other people. Everybody's a little different, and everybody metabolizes things at a different rate. And and if you metabolize the THC before it chemically changes into TH something else before it's processed.
I know this, but I smoke too much.
I forgot it all. I just saw a video on it recently. But yeah, you metabolize the THC too fast so that it doesn't change into this other chemical. And some people metabolize it. Yeah, and some people metabolize it really slowly, so they just smoke a little bit and they're just fucking blitzed. Fucking bastards.
That would actually make sense because I have a history of that with prescription drugs. That they're typically giving me what they consider to be twice the dosage for someone my size, just because it seems that half of it passes through without getting absorbed.
I knew a woman who is 5'5", I think, and I watched her take things that would murder the average human being. She literally is a bionic human being. That's
why I figure I don't have to worry about giving Diana a kidney, because it seems that I don't really need both of them. If anything, my filter system's a little too efficient.
That's true about the metabolism, though, because I am one of those people that cannot stop moving.
Although I learned something I didn't know is that while you can't regrow a kidney, if you lose one or donate one, the remaining kidney will often grow again to half again its original size to compensate.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, the human body is amazing.
Yeah, this is what I was finding out when I was looking into the idea of donating a kidney for transplant. That your remaining one will try to compensate and will keep growing for a while.
Groovy.
That's crazy. So we're like salamanders, basically, or what?
I wish. That's always my first line argument against the divine creation thing, is that if a frog or a salamander can regrow a severed limb, why haven't I been able to regrow my truncated fingers?
How come I can't regrow the bottom half of my lungs? If that's true.
Yeah, we're supposed to be the pinnacle of God's creation. So, why do these other lower animals have these great abilities that we don't have?
And we could get beat up by a lot of those animals too. Have you ever been toe to toe with an orangutan or a baboon? Those things are scary huge.
You ever see a hairless gorilla?
I've seen really scary pictures of it, of them.
Yeah, they're just. It shows their musculature. They're like freaking just crazy, huge, just muscular fuckers. They look like without the hair. They look like people that fucking work out a lot.
There's a gibbon farm by my job, and they're ripped. First off, they look 6 months pregnant, but they're ripped, and they have these wingspans of condors. It's surreal. Yeah,
but,
like I said,
as I understand it, the human body does have a few instances of regeneration. I think, like with the liver, like your liver can grow back, and that's a kind of regeneration. I think
I've had my.
It seems that simpler animals have a better ability to regenerate.
Yeah,
and even embryos, like even human embryos, I think regenerate, because I think they can like pull them apart with tweezers into two different parts and put them back together, and they still.
Oh, that's crazy!
I mean,
they still reform.
The frogs and salamanders. I mean, fucking amphibians can grow new bones.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And it seems to be complexity. We're just too complex to regenerate.
I wish.
Rebuild. We do rebuild. We do. We scar and stuff, but our bodies do like rebuild. Our flesh repairs cuts and laceration.
I've had my lip split open completely. Sorry, Doc.
We need to be simpler people. I'm going to splice my DNA with a fluke so I can regenerate.
I wish. I've had my lip split open. You can't see it because I'm brown, but I have a giant scar right here where I did it to myself. Like, I was reinforcing a cabinet and I kicked a piece of wood. It came back and hit me in the face. You'd be the human face heals. I've literally had my lips completely split open to where I could go like this.
Oof.
Yeah, it came right back.
I got a couple of scars on one on my forehead and one just below where the bridge of the nose begins. They're almost gone. But when
I lived in the city of Los Angeles, this kid was acting crazy on the metro, and I stupidly tried to be her hero and was like, "Hey, you need to chill out," What I didn't see was his friend by the door, and like I was looking at the kid. I had my big fat mouth open, and this guy sucker punched me, and my lip, like I had my mouth open, so my tooth completely cut my lip in half.
Oof.
Yeah, and it healed, and everything. I didn't even go to the doctor, and it healed.
Whoa.
Yeah, the human. You'd be amazed what you can do to the human body and live. I say that all the time. I'm one of those people that's tested that theory.
And the doctors have been pretty amazed at my healing for most things, including when I truncated the fingers.
Oof, that makes me grab my hand whenever you talk about that.
Yeah, well, that's when I went for a follow-up appointment, like about 2 weeks after I was in the ER with it, and the doctor was telling me that he could get me into some, physical rehab, and, that I should be able to hold a fork again and such. And yeah, I had to tell him I'd been pounding nails with it earlier that day because I was in the middle of a job. And yeah, I wasn't getting paid by the hour. I didn't get paid till the job was finished. So there was no fucking way I could just take a month off work. Beside the fact that if I tried to do that, they probably would have found somebody else to finish it, and I would have wound up paying them money.
I kind of did the same thing when I had physical rehab. They they told me not to walk when I got in my car accident. They're like, your body's healing. And the doctor would always tell me, I don't want to see you walking in here. Like a cocky, I'd walk in there every single time. Even if I was in pain, I would just grimace and be like, no, I got things to do. My body needs to heal now.
Yeah, one time when I got hurt, after I was limping for the third day, my ex I was living with at the time, finally made me go into the clinic with it. And the doctor x-rayed it and said, yeah, you broke this a couple of days ago. It seems to be healing up, so we can either leave it alone, or if you want me to straighten it out, I have to break it again.
Oof. I broke my arms when I was a kid. Summer before I went into 4th grade. So I would have been around 10. Or turned 10 that fall. And it was kind of funny because I was at a neighbor kid's house, and I was playing with my friend Jesse, and I was climbing the tree, and I climbed out on a thick ass branch thicker than my arm, right? So I thought I was just fine, and I'm like, hey, Jesse, look, branch snaps just then. I plummet a good 20 feet to the ground. My left arm was the obvious break. We didn't know I had a hairline fracture in my right wrist till the next day. But the left arm was an obvious break. Broke just above the wrist. My hand was laying on my forearm. It was completely broke. My hand was flopped over.
Yeah.
And strangely, I still have a scar. It's starting to really fade now, but it's been one of the weird ones that has stuck with me. It didn't like the bone didn't pierce the skin, but it really stretched it on the bottom, and it was all bagged up on the top. My hand laid on my arm.
I'm really good in a crisis situation. When there's chaos going around and there's broken bones and blood, I don't think about it. I'm that kind of person that, like, I could be a paramedic, but then I would go home and puke thinking about the day I just had, when the adrenaline goes away. That makes me just absolutely jump.
Yeah, that's the same with me. I've got a delayed reaction to it, but I can bandage it up and all, and get the person to the hospital or whatever. Yeah, and then I'll throw up.
Exactly. Like I said, I've had to give Isaiah the Heimlich like 8 or 9 times, and it's traumatic. I gave the Heimlich to a woman in a restaurant, and I walked out, and I felt the world going like this all of a sudden because I was about to pass out myself. It's traumatic when somebody is choking.
Tell me about it. I have to give the Heimlich to myself one time.
Oh, that's so. It's a helpless feeling. That's the worst.
Yeah, because it's like I couldn't get any of the people around me to realize that something was wrong.
Oh.
So yeah, nobody was paying any attention. So all I could do was just literally drop my full weight against the edge of the picnic table to try and dislodge it.
So it's funny, not funny, but that's how Red Fox died in real life.
Really?
Yeah, he was doing a special and he was dying of a heart attack, and people thought that he was redoing his Sanford and Son act.
Oh,
Yeah, since that was
shit.
part of that character.
He died with people around him clapping. They
Oh,
literally
wow.
were clapping for him, and he looked at he probably was like, "You dumb mother effers, I'm having a heart attack." A
That,
baby ass. Oh,
that's actually the Purple story and your story actually converges to Howie Mandel's story. So you know that Bobby voice he does, the high voice, the high kid voice, right?
totally.
So at least this is the rumor I heard. I don't know if it's true, but he actually came up with that voice um, at a dinner party with friends, and he was choking, and he was telling people, "I'm choking, I need help," but because he was choking, it made that voice, and people just started laughing at him, thought he was fucking around. He's like, no, I'm really joking. And he has said in interviews, and I've seen it in his stand-up, he has said that it really hurts his throat to do that voice.
I can
So
imagine.
he like really has to strain his throat to recreate those choking conditions that made him do the voice. Like, I'm guessing, assuming
He had
the
it.
story is true.
Didn't he have the Bobby cartoon? Like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm aging
Bobby's
myself.
World.
Yeah. Okay. So that's
So like, how did he do that so long? If
that
it
was my
hurts
first
his
thought.
throat?
That was quite literally
Yeah.
like my first thought.
And I've
That's
seen it in his stand-up when he was doing the voice. Like he turns his head away and kind of grasps his throat at some point, and he's just like, this fucking hurts."
Well, with the cartoon, at least he, probably could just do a couple lines at a time and take breaks in between it. At least get enough water and such.
And I don't know. Hi there, Ox.
Hey, Ox.
And I don't know if they had auditory technology well enough at that time that they could take a few samples and fill in some spaces with the computer. Maybe, I don't know. If they did, it was expensive.
a really
Or
good
maybe
question.
Or maybe at a certain point he was able to do it, kind of train himself or get used to it so that it didn't hurt him so much.
Well, yeah, I'm sure if he was, basically doing it on a daily basis, it got easier.
Because I've done that too. I do a few voices, or I screw around doing voices and stuff, and a few of them I kind of
sorry.
a few of them I kind of trained myself on, and at first it hurt a little doing these voices, but eventually I kind of trained into it and can do it where it doesn't hurt right away. Anyway, if I do it long enough, it starts to hurt. But
Yeah, Ox, I have 2 bikes. They're called Probation and Parole, so I don't show them off. It's a 1978 Softail, and the other one's my dad's old Cruiser, which is now mine. The thing's, I literally look like I'm on my dad's bike, though. The thing's huge. But yeah, I've been riding my entire life. Started off with dirt bikes. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I tried riding a motorcycle a couple times. My nephew let me ride his. I think this was the last time I tried, and I ended up jumping off of it before I wiped out.
I watched my cousin, we were kids, on an ATV. He went straight up and broke his tailbone as he was holding the ATV and came down on it.
Oh, shitty.
Yeah, bikes are dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. Bikes are dangerous.
I built myself a dirt bike once, but I left it out in the rain and it became a mud puddle.
No, this is just, it's
a my dog, and now he's gone.
No, this one's an upside down cross, and this is a hellhammer patch. You can't, in Southern California, it's illegal to wear any kind of affiliate patch in any way, shape, or form. If you are on a bike and you have any kind of patch, they made the law just so they could pull you over. So if you have anything,
does it have to be like an official patch, or are you an idiot to make a joke fake patch?
well, what happened is they put a federal indictment down on two certain clubs. Okay, so if you wear certain colors, they're going to pull you over. But what happened is that like on this side of town, the Mongols ruled the 5 freeway. Okay, so it was beautiful. Man, you could ride for days. No one ever messed with anybody. Well, when they put the indictment down that you can't be part of any MC at all or anything, what happened was now we have 5 million little clubs, and we have all these wannabes with vests on who haven't earned them at all. And so the feds basically created a power vacuum in Southern California, and they created a bigger problem. It's kind of like what happened in Iraq, to tell you the honest truth. Like, Saddam Hussein was evil, but he kept everybody at bay.
Yeah,
And
I'm not sure if by pagans, if you mean the upside down cross, because that's something that's used by Satanists, but generally not something you're going to see pagans using.
I do lean way more Satanist, but that's just because I grew up Roman Catholic. So that's just more of a giant middle finger. Like, I wear Baphomet around town. Like, okay, if I wore Baphomet on the back of a bike, a cop could get bored and pull me over and be like, hey, I don't like where are you from? Run me through a registry and all that. And if you're just wearing if you're just wearing denim, they leave you alone,
As I understand it, that's what Satanism is. It's a rebellion to religion. It's the anti-religion religion, and their goal is to eliminate all religions.
It's more about Satan. Like, yeah, I agree with you, but it's definitely about freeing yourself from religion.
It's a question of, are you talking about the Church of Satan, or are you talking about the LeVar Satanists? Two totally different things, not related in any way.
Right. Well, I'm going on.
The Church of Satan is the one who keeps toting the statue around anytime somebody tries to put up the 10 Commandments.
Yeah. Well, I'll cite my source. This is, I'm talking more historical Satanism, like before LeVay. So I'll cite my source. It's Raymond Buckland's Complete Guide to Witchcraft.
Okay.
And the whole idea of Satanism was to be rebellion. There, at one point, like the Catholic Church in Europe had all these stipulations on sex. There was like every holiday and every various other days, you couldn't have sex for so many days before this holiday and so many days after, and there was basically 3 weeks out of the year you could have sex, and even then it was never for pleasure. That was one of the things, not because religion is of course oppressive in many ways. Not just sex. But that was just one of the things. So Satanism began, centuries ago, as a rebellion, and they use inverted symbols of all the different religions. It's not just an upside down cross.
It's funny.
Pentagram is, anti-witchcraft, really.
I do that with the moon, and with a lot of Islamic symbols as well, because around here we have a lot of Muslims. And like with my one vest the dark blue one that I always wear, I have like a crescent moon right here on the same vest that says, what does it say? Oh, thank God for Satan.
Yeah, and Ox, what you're saying here, this is something that I don't know how many times as a pagan I wound up trying to explain this to Christians, was that pagans were not Satanists because if we rejected the Bible, Satan didn't exist any more than God did. He's part of the Christian mythology, so if I don't believe the Bible, I don't believe in Satan.
Hey,
and,
Maya.
and even then, Satan really is a patchwork of traits from various pagan gods and other things. The image of a goat man ultimately comes from Pan.
I'm such a nihilist.
Yeah.
It's
Hey,
hard for me
Maya.
to. It's hard for me to believe in any of it because I'm such a nihilist. You know.
Well-
I try not to be rude, but I'm one of those people who I think it. And I don't know. I think it's all kind of buckish.
Well, after discarding the Bible, I spent 25 years looking at all different religions, thinking that one of them must have something to it. And it's just
Same.
like, yeah, after 25 years, I realized that no, nobody's got anything more than a collection of stories.
See, I thought I was total wannabe Buddhist. And, good to see you, Maya. I was a wannabe, Louis Farrakhan 5% Muslim. I studied the 120s and everything. And it's just another religion with a gang of rules and a bunch of angry people judging you.
Also, if I may, if I'm not misinformed, and this actually comes from the same source, Buckland's Complete Guide to Witchcraft. The term pagan actually comes from the Latin pagani, which means country dweller. So the term pagan became synonymous with what we think of as pagan religions, and it's pretty much any non-Abrahamic religion, not as long as it's not Judaism, Christianity, Muslim.
Yes.
It's
Yeah,
pretty much
because as
pagan.
Christianity spread across Europe, it took hold in the major
Yes.
cities, but
In
the
the
people
cities
that
first,
were
yes.
out in the more rural districts tended to hold on to the older beliefs a lot longer.
To completely start
Heathen
fights.
has Heathen has similar history. It means people from the heath, which I could be mistaken, but I understand that as pretty much forest dweller. But
I was just
basically
about to bring that up.
people who didn't live in the cities. Yes.
Yeah, well,
So
and that's where we
pagans
get the
were-
word heathen from.
Yeah.
Heathen is actually a term of endearment to me. Where I'm from, you would get called a heathen if you got caught outside of church, or like heathen was like if you weren't doing churchly behavior. I got caught smoking one time, and this guy that was a facilitator was like, "Come on, you don't want to be a heathen." And he was serious, like he was dead serious. My pops used to always call me and my friends heathens or sinners. Like, what are you sinners up to today?
Hey,
So it's
Junie.
Hey, Junie.
Hello. Well, it's funny
Hello,
that
everyone.
there's this modern day debate about who gets to use the term heathen. Because there's atheists that use heathen. There's various pagan religions that want to use the term heathen, and there's this big fight over it. And it's like, it's really not like a religious title. It's really just a demographic term, like urban or rural.
Well, and I will have a problem now with anybody who says that I shouldn't be called a heathen, because I've been, called a heathen for about the last 20 years just because it's the term that's embraced by anyone who likes sex too much.
Really?
Well, I mean, when I belonged to swingers groups and that, yeah, everybody in there called themselves heathens.
I
Now, that's
never
scary
knew.
because that's scary because my oldest sister, whenever us younger kids were acting up, basically her kids and me, because I'm not much older than my oldest sister's kids, my niece and nephew. Whenever us kids were acting up, she would always say, "Bunch of heathens."
Yep. Well, but see, that's the funny thing to me, is because most of the people I knew who called themselves heathens were Christian. They just did things that the church didn't approve of.
Huh, really?
Yeah, people who like to drink too much or have sex too much, even if they were Christian, they were called heathens.
Exactly.
Oh wow. I mean, I recently saw a video by Ocean Keltoid about that whole thing where, atheists calling themselves heathens and how
Yeah.
I have a different view on it because of what Ox was asking me. Like, I grew up around bikers, and it's like, never claim to own something that you're not willing to fight over. So I don't think anyone really owns anything. You call yourself
That
what
is
you want. If you're willing to stand up for it, then you're willing to stand up for it.
That is one of the biggest reasons I claim nothing. I claim to
Yeah.
be a member of zero, absolutely zero groups.
Well, and the
Me
biggest
too.
problem,
I am not a race. I'm not a gender. I'm not a religion. I'm nothing. I'm not liberal. I'm not conservative. I'm none of those things. I'm
the
just
biggest
me.
problem I have with this argument about whether or not atheists are heathens is because really when it comes down to it, it's not up to us. Because the religious people are going to call us heathens regardless, whether we call ourselves that or not.
So true.
So the pagans cannot lay claim to this term because it's going to be forced on us whether we want it or not. It's just a question of whether we embrace it and throw it back in their face, or whether we just, try to shrink away from the religious people saying this to us.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's really just gonna cause, and quite frankly, seems like that's on purpose, but it's just gonna cause more identity wars. It's almost like they want to claim that term just so they can get pissed off at somebody for misusing it.
Which,
Yeah.
Which leads me to why today I made that video, My So-Called Life, about wearing a caftan, because I think it's crazy how we gender clothes. I personally think it's insane, because I know women who dress like this. I had an ex-girlfriend who exclusively wore hockey jerseys. Are hockey jerseys gendered?
Yeah. Football
Apparently.
jerseys too. I've seen lots of females wear football jerseys over the years. Although it was a tradition in my high school for girlfriends to wear their boyfriends' football jerseys.
Same at mine too.
Well, yeah, that goes back a long way.
Yeah.
It's one of those weird things because lately it's really been getting to me because I think also I watch way too much gender critical stuff on YouTube. So I get to a point where I'm like, why do people care so much about what somebody else is doing?
Yeah.
I love people, I respect them, but I respect them enough to leave them alone. I have opinions on everything, and I keep my mouth shut.
And my thing on that is, especially superficial things. Okay, it is one thing to observe a person, doing something really atrocious, like they're dragging their kid out the house and just beating the shit out of them the whole way. That's definitely something that demands the community's attention.
Oh yeah.
But if it's superficial things, what somebody's wearing, how they walk, just how they do their hair, I just don't give a shit. I completely shut down.
Yeah.
Almost. I'm still capable of appreciating aesthetic pleasure. I enjoy art. I enjoy some of the clever artistic things people do with their makeup and clothes and hair. I enjoy most of it, really.
Well, and
But
specifically,
I just don't react to it because I don't it's not a value judgment to me, and it pisses me off that it's a value judgment to everybody else.
Same. Totally agree. Junie, how are you
I'm done
doing?
now.
Junie season 2. I love your Junie the Apostate
I
season.
was wondering what the season 2 was about.
Yeah, so I'm finally gonna start re-uploading some videos again.
Awesome.
Well, I know one of them got taken down, so I'll just be taking bits of that one and trying it again. Apparently, YouTube sent me a message saying, well, apparently that it promotes self-harm. I mean, it's just a scary story, but I don't remember that one. And it's more of the folktale stuff from Mexico.
Yeah,
I
it's
loved
probably
your-
the bots again.
I loved your scary. I watched all of them.
Oh, and on that note about
Well,
the
thank you.
bots and such, have been trying to warn everybody not to rely too much on Google Drives. Make sure you have everything backed up offline. Because I've heard of this happening before about people getting locked out of their Google Drive. And the most recent one is a History Channel I watch, that the guy has been locked out of all of his Google stuff and can't even access like his family pictures on his Google Drive.
Oh, that's
Because
nightmare.
they decided one of his pictures was promoting terrorism because it showed a tank with the crescent moon symbol on it. This was archive footage.
I'm glad you said something because I have quite a few coats that have the crescent moon on it. I'm glad you said something.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was a total wannabe Muslim when I was
well,
in the 90s.
Apparently, YouTube decided that since it was showing the crescent moon and showing weapons, that was advocating for terrorism.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, that video that got taken down, I was wondering if it got backed up. Luckily it was, and so I also backed it up into my computer, so that way, in case anything happens with the archive stuff, I can just pull it up anywhere. But in terms of everything else, yeah, I probably should back it up, elsewhere.
I heard about this too, that somebody had it taken down because of a Jessica Rabbit thing.
So I said this when the show first started. Last night my computer it didn't crash. I did a bunch of dummy stuff on it, but I almost lost all of my stuff. So always back up your back up everything.
Sorry, I had to go there. Well, you have like the most interesting thumbnails there. And is it because you want to try YouTube with some of the images that you put on your thumbnails?
I started putting stock photos because YouTube has caught on to me. They caught on to me. They do not mess around. They won't let me put Skeletor. I tried to because I always have you guys ever seen American Pie? There's a character, she always talks about band camp. Well, I kind of look at myself like that. Like I'm always talking about this one time at band camp and this one time at band camp. I tried to use her as a thumbnail and they shut me down 3 different times and told me don't put this up a 4th time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I don't remember when that movie came. Well, that group of movies that came out, but I'm sure I was young enough to not be able to watch it while adults were around.
I wonder now, with YouTube YouTube and Twitter getting so big on blocking things that they think are, promoting self-harm, does that mean I would get my channel blocked if I put up pictures of lemmings?
Yeah, well, who knows? I mean, I'm going to review that video and just, make sure, but I don't remember anything, promoting self-harm. If anything, it's, promoting mental health and making sure that you don't get, go that route.
That's so weird.
Well, I got put in Twitter jail because there was a string about suicide, and I told people about, my own personal experience, but just because I used the word suicide in the post, Twitter had blocked me for a day.
Do you know? Do you know I may or may not have called Kevin Sorbo an SOB when I woke up one morning not feeling it, and my comment got erased, and that was it. And I put the actual like you're a SOB on there, and I thought I was gonna get put in Twitter jail, but it just got erased.
Okay, I was gonna ask if it was on Twitter or YouTube.
No, no. Today actually, I watched this really weird libertarian radio on YouTube, and now Isaiah watches it, and he put some really awful stuff in the chat, and YouTube instantly chopped it down. Didn't even let it get put up, and the people at LRN didn't even see it. So
You mean Isaiah?
yeah.
Well, that's because YouTube already knows to block your ISP.
Yeah, exactly. I was actually impressed because I'm sitting in the hallway and like I look on his computer because hey, in the modern era, if you have a kid, check their computer all the time. I walk up, I hit the history, I mirrored his computer, and even if you're watching, you can't take it off. But my whole point is, so I walked in and I saw that he said something really awful, and YouTube took it right down.
Yeah, another reason I'm glad I was done with kids by 2008.
Oh,
You know, I mean, we had the internet, but it wasn't nearly as big a thing.
So Isaiah got banned on the PlayStation Network, and I'm going to tell you the honest truth. I'm kind of happy because all his emails got sent to mine, and every once in a while there would be a grown man saying, "Hey, where do you live? Where blah 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 blah? Where I heard you playing so and so game," and I emailed them back like, "You come and find me, mother effer! Like, come and find." I sent him a picture of me like, "Come and find me," you know. So you really got to watch your kids' stuff nowadays. You really
Well, had
do.
that happened once with one of our teenage daughters, but yeah, she immediately showed that to her mom. And, she had no interest in that.
It's the predators like have taken a whole new, it's a whole new level, but I don't mess around. I got Life 360. Like I'm literally mirrored all his stuff. It was a little bit harder on the PlayStation Network, but everything else was a little easier. Tap your kids' stuff. Sorry, Junie.
Oh yeah, no worries. Well, in terms of YouTube, like I know what my daughter watches because it's usually I logged myself into it using my other account, so I get an idea of what gets played.
Even does she watch kids YouTube or regular YouTube?
Well, she uses her gaming console, and unfortunately, they don't have a kids version of the app, so it's just like the general YouTube. So yeah, I would have to sign into my account just to kind of weed things out a bit. But yeah,
Because I'll tell you, even when I put the setting on for kids, there are people who do gun tutorials who are who have no age restriction on it. And as a parent, I'm kind of like, hey, that's kind of insane. That's kind of batshit crazy, And there's at least, I'm not going to name them, but there's at least 4 YouTubers with over 200,000 subscribers that all they do is gun reviews and memes of like pro cop stuff, and all their videos are geared towards kids.
Yeah, if they're not marking those for being for an audience of a certain age, I think you need to report them to YouTube.
I've checked every single one of them are open. Because especially like when he's watching it on my phone, they'll pause when you turn it sideways.
I think you need to report them to YouTube and, post on Twitter about it to get more people to report them.
If I say this one YouTuber I know has a ton of stans, And I know if I post it, I'm gonna get 100,000 like, oh, you're scared of guns? Are you anti-American? Are you a pussy? Blah blah blah. You know,
Let's
because
see if it gets taken down. Because yeah, I feel
I'm
like
not scared of guns. I'm just scared of idiots with guns.
the problem is, like, in a state like Colorado, it's not illegal to have your own, like, there's, you know, the problem is in America, each state has different laws. So you're allowed to broadcast what you do if you live in a certain place. In California, if I was to even flash, it's illegal, you know? So it's just different laws in different places, and these people can get away with it because they live out in the middle of nowhere, you know?
Yeah, just a few years ago, Iowa legalized concealed carry, I think.
Wow.
And like just a couple years before that, they legalized the sale of fireworks. I know for all my life, it's been, you know, you had to go to the next state over to buy fireworks.
So when you're talking fireworks, are you talking about like
just commercial stuff you could normally buy, but like a what do they call them, an M80, which is pretty much a quarter stick of dynamite.
exactly, it's exactly what it is.
Like that's what Iowans can buy in Iowa now, and yet of course pot is super illegal. So it goes to show you where Iowans' priorities are.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, in
Hey, Lone
Illinois,
Wonder.
I think the most that you can buy are like those smoke bombs, and that's it.
So and this is another, like, I'm getting old because I used to be on the other side. Fireworks are completely illegal here in Southern California, and they sell them everywhere. I don't get they literally have in on the outskirts of LA County, there's fireworks stands because it's illegal in LA County, and on all the outskirts, they literally sell fireworks on the street, and people will pull over and buy these, you know, $200 boxes of fireworks.
Yeah, where I lived in Michigan, they were all over the place.
That's just insane to me. It's just,
Yeah,
and
you don't see any of them. You know, Minnesota, you can't do any of that.
also we have a lot more people have mortars now, where it was like mortars are super illegal. You get caught with mortars in your car, you're going to jail because they're basically bombs, you know. They're mortars are those really big fireworks that go up and explode 500-600 feet in the air, like the real one.
I was going to say, if mortar was illegal, what holds the bricks together?
Oh, well, I call them mortars because that's what they are. Like, you light them, you stick them in the tube, and they shoot up, you know. And and I'm gonna blame Trump. So thanks, Trump. I'm blaming you on this one. During the reign of Trump, we got an influx of fireworks like I had never seen in Los Angeles. Last 4th of July, this place was lit up. I had never seen so many mortars in my life. It was like a free show.
Well, yeah, as attested to by the fact that they blew up their own truck.
That's what I'm saying. They had enough to blow up a neighborhood. You know, LA is like, we have a really large influx of fireworks here. It's I don't know what happened. I don't know if the border. You know what's really funny? They won't let people come across the border, but we'll take fireworks all day long from Mexico. You know, it's ridiculous.
Whatever can scream out our freedom, that's what we'll take.
I know. I was going off earlier about how people need to know, like, the Haitians are here because unfortunately Hispanic people hate the French. And so they're trying to kick the Haitians out of their own homeland because they're not Hispanic, because they're French. And it's literally because of lineage and a language, because they're the same color, but they're, you know, it's just sad. It's sad state of affairs right now.
Yeah, it's messed up. I'm sure. I mean, a lot of them are kind of done, you know, living in a place where it's just either earthquake or I think wasn't it that something happened to their president?
They had an earthquake, and then their president was assassinated.
Yeah, so I don't know how things are being run over there at the moment.
Well,
but
with the president assassinated, there was supposed to be a special election, but the guy that got put in as the default interim president has done everything possible to make sure that they can't have an election so that he can stay in power. So in short, he has made himself a dictator.
oh, jeez.
And with all the politics there, anyways, like, you don't want to be a dictator of the minority. He's a dictator of literally a sliver of an island. And I keep on calling it Hispaniola because Columbus, I think that's where Columbus was exiled. Because he discovered it, but I believe, well, he didn't discover it. He landed there. I could be off with my history. I could be off with my island history, but he was exiled on one of those islands because he was such a shit. People don't realize how awful Columbus was.
Yeah, as I'm homeschooling, I'm learning a lot of new things myself. So, it's the history, like I guess being honest with the whole past with Columbus and everything that I'm gonna have to go through with.
Columbus literally was hitting people over the head with giant golden crosses. Like, Columbus was an angry Catholic. It would convert or die. And like, Columbus did not play around.
Well, I'm wondering like if the reason why they were calling it like, for example, I'm just teaching states and cities. So today we were doing the capital, right? And it's District of Columbia. I'm assuming that's because of Columbus.
I'm pretty sure it is, but I would have to verify.
Is that why we name everything Columbia, like the Columbia River? Couple space shuttles, a couple spaceships on Star Trek.
Well, if it is, that deals with Columbus, I would hate, if DC were to ever become a state, apparently it would be called New Columbia.
Oh, that's pretty bad. I heard a long time ago that there was some like nefarious there's like some real meaning to what DC means in Latin. Like, Washington DC means something else, and it basically was supposed to be like the Caucasian haven or something. I read this really messed up book about Andrew Jackson, because Andrew Jackson was an angry lit human being.
I'll define lit.
Oh, lit means like he was all about white supremacy. He sent an expedition to the Caucasus Mountains in Asia to find proof that that's where white people were from. He sent Lewis and Clark out. He was all about manifest destiny for his people, which included only his people.
Yeah, there was certainly a lot of that going around. Of course, the Mormons have the wildest story.
So they were literally kicked out of St. Louis. Or ran out of town, ran out of St. Louis. And for a while, their religion was illegal.
What was
They claim persecution.
the story of Joseph Smith again? How he was killed in Chicago?
Really?
Well, he was like chased down to a building, and they like burnt the building down or something like that.
Yeah, I heard something vaguely about that. I don't really know the story.
The Mormons were.
I can't remember it. Oh,
They were a very hated group. Another documentary I saw on PBS. Another amazing PBS documentary.
My favorite Mormon story because this was Joseph Smith's own writing. So the church doesn't want to talk about it, but it's in there. It's part of their official church scripture that Joseph Smith met Bigfoot and traveled with him for a day and had this long conversation with him that Bigfoot was actually Cain from the Bible.
Oh,
This is part of the Norman scriptures.
I think Joseph Smith walked around the countryside eating random mushrooms and berries. Because you have to be on
Yeah.
drugs to to think of some of these stories. Oh,
I'd
that's
buy
crazy. Like when I heard Nostradamus had a giant bowl of like narcotics, I was like legit, total legit. Because when I stopped doing mushrooms and acid, I completely stopped believing in fairy tales. So
Okay,
imagine
there you go, Will. Columbus subsequently visited the islands known as Cuba and Hispaniola and established a colony in what is now Haiti.
Okay, so Haiti is on the far side, which is the Dominican Republic, which was Hispaniola. And the one thing, you know what the thing is? Columbus gets my blood pressure going. Because once I found out who he really was, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, you're a wreck. But Lone is right. Columbus named all of them too. And that's why I call it Hispaniola, because it's kind of disrespectful almost, because the Spaniards and the Dutch and the Portuguese created what we consider the Hispanic race by murdering most of the men and taking all the women. So
Yeah,
Hispanic
that's not a
is
unique thing in history.
so Hispanic is kind of, I don't know. I wouldn't call it racist, but it's just a dated term.
Well, that's what the Bible talks about. That you go and kill all the men and you keep the young women for yourself.
Oh yeah, that's why. Like, I don't know. I don't want to get too deep in. I'm biased when it comes to that region.
Well,
I've been down there.
Unfortunately, I'm going to need to wrap this up here because, like I say, the whole point of moving this up earlier is that I'm supposed to be, trying to work on the sleep schedule. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I'm surprised I'm still up. Usually, I'm knocked out by 11.
yeah.
But
So
I thought this was just a pre-show. Before the
no,
midnight.
this is going to be it for Thursday nights. It's going to just be 10 to midnight. Because the idea is supposed to be for me to, shut off the computer and have an hour or two without the screen before I go to sleep. So, anyone have anything they need or wanting to plug here before we go?
Well, I can go first. Of course, as you can see from my tag here, I will be starting my episode 1 of season 2 tomorrow. So I'll just be releasing it. Re-releasing a video.
I agree with you. That's awesome.
Okay, well, Will.
All right, I'm trying not to scream because I have a little bit of an echo, but I'm Godless Sewing of the Godless Sewing channel. Come and check out my latest video. I made a caftan, but it's really just about being who you are and feeling comfortable about the clothes, whatever clothes you choose to wear. Really, it's just a 12-minute video of me really enjoying myself, So come on down. To all the people that have recently subscribed, you're awesome. I thank you. And I'm obsessed with sewing machines and I make crazy stuff and I'm all about the liberation of yourself. And stop gendering clothes. Godless Sewing channel. Go subscribe.
I wish I had half your spunk.
It's coffee and anger.
Yeah, I suck at the self-promotion. Okay, so, Jenny's not here anymore, but I'm sure she would be telling you about movie night tomorrow night. I think that's going to be starting at 11 Eastern. Or 11 Central, rather, midnight Eastern. And assuming I don't fall asleep before then, I will be on with the shills Saturday at 6. And that's about it now. But I would like to thank my Patreon supporters. Well, Junie the Apostate here, of course. And X from the Utah Outcast. Vonrick, Ox, Robert X, the Lavender Lady, and Greg Hartwick.
Yay.
So I appreciate you, each throwing me a couple dollars each month so that I can pay for the StreamYards and such, and it's not being taxing on me to keep doing this. So with that, then, everybody, I will say good night.
Have a great night.
Yeah.
Good night, all.
Here, everyone.